Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Dr. Halimah, and today's lecture is number 13. This, I hope it will prove interesting to you and challenging at the same time. Now, as usual, the title of the lecture is Cultural Problems in Arabic English Translations. As usual, we will go through the following points: the learning outcomes of this lecture, and then we will talk about the concept of culture, and then we will mention very briefly something about the relationship between culture and translation, and then we will end the lecture by giving examples of cultural problems so that you know what kind of problems they are. And we will take examples only from, let's say, political and administrative problems, and religious problems, literary problems, and ecological problems. So from each category, I have chosen an example, just to give you a flavor of this type of problems. Now, the learning outcomes, of course, by the end of this lecture, you should be able to recognize the cultural translation problems at different levels. And then you should be able to develop your own strategies to solve such kind of problems. So hopefully you will end up with something useful today. Now, the concept of culture. People say different things about the concept of culture. Now, I have given you three concepts, or three definitions of culture, or three ways of how people look at culture. Now, in 1871, for instance, Taylor, he's a big scholar. He defines culture. What is culture? He defines it as a complex whole. A complex whole which includes knowledge, beliefs, art, morals, laws, customs, and many others, or any other capabilities and habits acquired by a man as a member of a society. So this is culture, according to Taylor. This is one concept. Now, the second concept, I mentioned it earlier in one of these, I think lecture number 7, about Newmark's definition of culture. Now, he defines culture as the way of life and its manifestation that are peculiar to a community that uses a particular language as its main means of expression. So it's a way of life according to Newmark. Now, I have included Al-Jundi definition or comparison or differentiation between culture and civilization to give you an idea, again, what culture could mean. Now, according to Al-Jundi, he's an Arab scholar, makes a distinction between culture and civilization. According to him, culture involves beliefs, customs, traditions, laws, and value system. Whereas civilization involves the progress, development at the level of scientific inventions, technology, industries, education. So there is a distinction between culture and civilization. Civilization has something to do with progress and advancement in technology, in industries, in education, in scientific inventions, whereas culture has something to do with beliefs, customs, traditions, habits, the value system, So you need to understand what we mean by culture. Very important to be able to solve the translation problems, So this is very briefly about what we mean of the concept of culture. Now, culture and translation. Now, I've given you this piece of information in lecture number 7 when we talked about the culture and translation. If you want to know more details about the relationship between culture and translation, please refer to lecture number 7. But I've mentioned this just to remind you of the main categories of culture. And when you are talking or when you are thinking translation, you need to think of the following categories. Categories involve ecology. Ecology, you know what we mean by ecology. You know, anything related to flora, the plants, or fauna, to animals, or winds, planes, and so on. And then the material culture related to food, clothes, and houses and towns, and so on. And social culture and organizations, including political and administrative, religious and artistic, and gestures and habits. Now, these are categories. These are categories you need to think of when you are translating any piece of information or any message. Does this message include any element of these? You know? If it does, then you need to look at it in a different way, taking into account the cultural strategies you need to adopt when you are translating. All right? Now, this is very briefly about the relationship between culture and translation, or where culture stands with translation. Now the cultural actually starts. Now, examples, I have examples of cultural problems in Arabic-English translation. I'd like you to understand the following bits very well. They are just examples. Now, political and administrative. Of course, I mean, when you are translating, I mean, you need to check, is this what kind of text is this? What type of text is this? Is it a political text? Is it a literary text? Is it a scientific text? Is it a technical text? You need to identify the discourse, the text in front of you. What type of it? Now, if you come across a text which has the characteristics of political or administrative, then you need to think very well, or to think very carefully of certain terms. Now, political and administrative problems, I mean, this type of examples, or this type of text relating to politics and diplomacy. So you have an article from the Times or the Guardian, you know, it's politics and diplomacy. Now, difficulties in translating such text arise from expressions, you know, and terms which have cultural connotations, you know, attached to them, and no direct equivalent to them in the other language. Now, if we want, for instance, to translate the term ashura. Now, the term ashura is in Arabic, it has political features, has religious features, and has diplomatic features. Now, in Majlis al-Shura, for instance, how would you translate into English Majlis al-Shura? Would you say Shura Council or Consultation Council? This is something for you to think about, because in English there is nothing called a Consultation Council. In English, the word Shura, you know, doesn't have a direct equivalent in English. Why? Because it has cultural association. Now, some people might say, oh, well, doctor, what do you think of Parliament? I mean, the Parliament in England, they have their own Parliament. You know, no, it doesn't work like that. The Parliament, now, the English word Parliament is not enough. Is not enough. Why? Because, look, because it lacks the religious implication attached to the Arabic word Shura. So the parliament, the name parliament, although it looks like, you know, a council, you know, but it doesn't have the same connotations or cultural connotations, especially religious connotations. So this is just a little example about the difficulties and problems a translator might face when he or she translating text related to politics and diplomacy. Okay? Now, A. Now B is the most difficult type of translation, or the most difficult type of text to be translated from Arabic into English, or from English into Arabic, because it is really, it has something to do with something very sacred, whether to Arabs or to Westerners, or everybody has his own beliefs, his own religion, and so on. So you need to think very carefully about this type of translation. Now, religious examples involve terms and expressions or text relating to the Quran, to the Sunnah of our great Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and any other religious text. So this is what we mean by religious examples or religious text. The difficulties now arise from terms or expression that have cultural connotations or cultural association. It is not a matter of translatability, but rather of rendering a concept. In other words, a question is not the question of can we transfer it into English or not. It is not like that. It is it possible to transfer the concept of something into English, or the concept of something from English into Arabic? Now let's see an example. Now religious continue, it means this continues to. Now if we want for instance to translate أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تقربوا الزنا إنه كان فاحشة وساء سبيلا. Now I have given you examples of four examples translated by one, Dawood, and his translation of the Quran 1956, and then Arbery 1964, and then Abdullah Yusuf Ali 1934, and Yüksel 2010. I'm sure you are aware there are so many translations of the Quran, and I've chosen four to give you the difficulties and the problems all these great translators have faced in rendering the concept of adultery. Now look at Dawood. I don't want to go into detail about the background of the translators, because it's very important to understand that who is Dawood, who is Arbery, who is Ali, and who is Yüksel. Dawood is an Iraqi, I think of Jewish origin, Arbery a Christian, Ali a Pakistani Muslim, and Yüksel is a Turkish Muslim. Now you need to take into account all why I've mentioned this. Their historical, their cultural, their educational background play a great role in understanding the Quran. Now, look, Dawood says, not commit adultery. You shall not commit adultery, for it is foul and indecent. And approach not fornication. Arbery said, and approach not fornication, surely it is an indecent and evil as a way. Ali says, nor come near to adultery, for it is a shameful deed and an evil, opening the road to other evils. Yüksel, do not go near adultery, for it is a sin and an evil. Now the question is here, look, three of them, let's see what I've explained. Three of them Dawood and Ali's, three of them translated as zina, adultery, and one of them, Arbery's, is fornication. Now, according to the English reader, according to an English reader or English-speaking person, especially Western, Dawood's and Ali's virgin would mean to an English reader that it is prohibited to practice illegal sex only after marriage. It means it is haram only after marriage. It is not haram before marriage. Whereas Arbery's version would mean that it is prohibited to practice illegal sex only before marriage. Means after marriage is all right. So this is the cultural connotation of the word and the concept. Now, according to Western culture, it is socially and culturally acceptable to practice sex before marriage only, not after marriage. This is their culture, and this is their concept. Now, looking at the examples above, it seems that their English version, their English versions, Arbery, Dawood, and all of them, seems to have distorted the picture of the Islamic principle, which considers any illegal sexual intercourse, whether before or after marriage, is strictly prohibited. In Islam, as you know, any illegal sexual intercourse is haram, whether before marriage or after marriage. Now, how would you combine this concept? How would you combine this concept in translation like that? Before I end up, just to give you an idea how you could go about a problem like this, you could say, for instance, Ali, nor come near adultery, nor fornication. You can do not commit adultery or fornication. Both. You need to combine these two terms in a translation like that to give the English reader that we Muslims and the Quran prohibits fornication, which means practicing sex before marriage, and adultery, which means practicing sex after marriage illegally. So you need to use these two words to convey the concept of adultery. All right? This is very important. This is just an example. This is due to lack of time. I won't be able to continue explaining so many things about these translations. I have my own reservations about the available translations of the Quran. So you need to be very careful when you read something like that in English or in French or in Japanese or in Urdu. So you need to be very careful. And because, it is not a translatable. The Quran is not a translatable, no way. No way. Because you know that it is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, let's go to the another example, literary example. Now, literary examples, again, this involves the translation of literary prose and poetry. You have drama, novels, poetry, and essays, and so on. But again, literary problems are very common, and no matter how skillful the translator may be, he or she, they might still fall victims to problems of this sort. Why? Because because these literary terms have their own cultural and social associations and connotations. Now, I'll give you an interesting example. I don't know whether some of you have heard of this verse by Al-Mutanabbi. Now, Woodhouse He's a literary man, a scholar, and translated the following line of Al-Mutanabbi's poetry. But you can see كأن الأسود التي فيهم غراب حوله رخوم وبوما. Now look at how he translated them, how translated this line. As if the Nubian blacks were crows, around them vultures and owls. Now, Wormhout, he doesn't overlook the cultural and historical association and connotation Al-Mutanabbi wanted to attach to this poem, or to this line of his poem, but even he makes he pluralize. You know, look at the for instance, كأن الأسود. الأسود in Arabic is singular, you know, and he makes the plural. How come? So this is one mistake. Now this is not the only mistake. This is a linguistic mistake. We are not concerned with it now. But look at what he made a big mistake by forgetting about the cultural and this historical knowledge of the owls. I mean, what is the connotation of mentioning an owl? Of if you say he has the face of an owl, or she has the face of an owl, in Arabic is very, very rude, and offensive. Now, his translation distorts the meaning and doesn't convey the same conveyed message in Arabic, because Al-Mutanabbi, when he wrote this poem, he wrote it to as a satire, for Kafur al-Ukhshidi. He didn't like Kafur al-Ukhshidi because he didn't give him a piece of land to rule. So he wrote him this poem, criticizing him, and he fled. He fled the country. He left Egypt and came back to Syria. Now, the Wormhout didn't know, or doesn't seem to know, the historical and the cultural features of this poem. And the owl, when an owl is used in Arabic, it is generally used to refer to bad omen and bad luck. But in English, it is not necessary. On the contrary, in English, the owl is used to refer to wisdom and sometimes love, to be honest. Prince Andrew, when he got married to Sarah, now they are divorced, as you probably know, he gave her a token of an owl. Why? Because he thought it was a symbol of wisdom and love, of course, according to this particular example. So now this is about literary. As I said before we move on, this is an example about the literary problems that you might face. So you need to be very careful about the historical, the social, the cultural connotations, associations attached to a certain terms. All right? Now we come to ecological. Ecological, as I said, do you remember lecture number 7, the culture and translation? So you can refer to it if you want more details about what we mean by ecology or ecological problems. Now, ecological, this involves terms and expressions and text relating to what? To flora, means plants, fauna means animals, a climate, you know, climate, plains, hills, downs, plateaus. This is what we mean by ecological features or ecological examples or ecological expressions. So you need again to find out what kind of, do we have any ecological features here which might cause a problem for me as a translator. Now look at Shakespeare's poem. It's a well-known poem, To His Love. Now I have chosen this example to demonstrate to you the serious mistake the poet made when he translated, or when she translated this poem. Now Shakespeare says, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate." Perhaps if you are, the majority of you, if you have done poetry, then you might, or you must have read this poem. Now look at Fatima al-Naib. She is a poetess. She's a poetess, and she's qualified, by the way, to translate poetry. But again, she, look at how she translated it. ماذا يقارن حسنك المغري بصيف قد تجلى وفنون سحرك قد باتت في ناظري أسمى وأغلى. All right, it sounds poetic, it sounds fine, it sounds all right, but look at it. If we back translate it into English, look how it looked like. Who could compare your glamorous beauty with a divine summer? And the arts of your beauty appeared in my eyes lovelier and more precious. I have back translated this. Now look at the difference between my translation of this and the original of Shakespeare's. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. By the way, look here. Art doesn't mean arts. This is an old form of are. Thou art means you are. But it's archaic, very old English. Again, An-Naib unfortunately didn't understand that this is auxiliary verb, are. You are, he is, so you are more lovely and more temperate. But during Shakespeare's time, there were not are used. And so she thought that thou art means fanun. See, this is a very serious mistake. I understand she might not know, she might not have known the English auxiliary verb, but there is another serious problem. Another serious problem. Now, she made a very serious mistake by translating the word shall I compare thee to a summer's day by the word summer, as-sayf, to the literal equivalent, to the literal Arabic equivalent as-sayf, a summer's day. Now, when she has translated a summer's day be as-sayf, she damaged Shakespeare's message. Why? Because the message Shakespeare wants to pass to the reader is that, look, my love is as pretty, as beautiful, as lovely as the summer in England, not as the summer in Saudi Arabia, not as the summer in Kuwait, scorching summer, or even it is not like as the summer in Syria or in Egypt. He compares his love to a summer, to the summer of May. The summer in England is just beautiful. It is just like spring in let's say Saudi Arabia, or in the Arab world in general, or in Syria in particular. Now, the significance of the summer is different to an Arab person from the significance of summer to an English person. Okay? So this is very serious. Now, to give you an example, look at a little comparison between English summer and Arabic summer. Look, English summer is a symbol of beauty and loveliness. Arabic, the summer is not a symbol of beauty or loveliness. Summer in English is about 1-2 months. The summer in the Arab world, and especially in Saudi Arabia or in the Gulf, about 3-4 months. Summer. It's long. In England or in the UK, cool and temperate. In the Gulf or in the Arab world, dry, humid, and hot. So in Dammam, for instance, it's humid. In Riyadh, dry and hot. Now, the effect the reader gets from this poem is positive, psychological effect. He feels good about himself or about herself, because the poet, Shakespeare, makes her live a summery day. Whereas, you know, negative, I mean, when I read it like من ذا يقارن حسنك المغربي صيف قد تجلى, well, I mean, a saif in the Arab world is not that pretty, is it? It's hot, humid, sweating, and all this. So it has a negative psychological effect. Now, I suggest to you a substitution approach to a problem like this. If I was a naib, I would have translated the word الصيف بربيع قد تجلى. Imagine if you said من ذا يقارن حسنك المغربي بربيع قد تجلى. Ya salam. She would have successfully achieved the message. Because, look, a little comparison between English summer and Arabic spring. English summer, symbol of beauty and loveliness, and Arabic spring is symbol of beauty and liveliness. In spring we are, you know, we feel good, we feel lively, we feel fresh, we feel happy. Now, the length of the summer in England, very short, and the length of the spring is very short. Whether here in the UK, whether here in the kingdom, or in Syria, or in Egypt, anywhere in the Arab world. And in the summer, cool and temperate, and again, the spring in the Arab world is cool and temperate, even in Iraq. And positive psychological effect, positive psychological effect. You know? So this is just a demonstration. This is an illustration to you of serious practical problems in cultural features of the text of Arabic and the English text as well. Now, before I move to a different point, I have given you this task. This task, you do it yourself. The question is, find the ecological feature and attempt to translate the following example into English and explain the translation approach or strategies you are using. Now, please don't misunderstand me. This is not the type of a question we will give to you in the exam. No, 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 no. This is just a little something for you to think about. Can you do it? Can you translate this line? أحبها وتحبني ويحب ناقتها بعيري. Can you translate it into English? So this is a little task. If you could do that, I would salute you. All right? This is just for you to imagine and to practice or to discuss online between you and, you know, with your colleagues, with your friends. How would you translate this? And then if you are interested, you know, pass your translation to me, and then I will be really impressed, very impressed if you really manage to translate it. I have already explained to you all the problems relating to cultural and linguistic features. Now, before I finish, I would like to stress on the importance of these 2 points. When dealing with culture in translation, you need to be aware of the following: the contextual factors and the translation procedures. Now, regarding the contextual factors, you need to think of the purpose of the text, the motivation and the cultural, the technical, the linguistic level of the readership, the importance of the referent in the source text, the setting, you know. And then you think of the procedure. What kind of procedure I need to take? Is it transference, or is it cultural equivalent? Is it naturalization? Is it literal? Is it label? Is it componential? So all these procedures you need to think of when you are translating any cultural problems into English, or from into English. Okay? So I hope you have found this lecture interesting and useful and helpful in your career. Now, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.